Good morning and welcome to the Committee on Public Services. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Varga.
Yeah, I think she is here. I saw her.
Commissioner Palomero.
Here.
Commissioner Hattis.
Present.
Commissioner Dobb.
Here.
Commissioner Baydoun.
Here.
Commissioner Ware.
Present.
Chair Marecki.
Here.
You have a quorum present.
Okay, thank you. Next item.
B, approval of the November 26, 2019 meeting minutes.
So moved.
Okay, we have an approval and support. Any questions, comments? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item.
Chairwoman's remarks.
I have none right now. Okay, next item.
D, unfinished business.
Okay, unfinished business. Am looking for a motion, entertaining a motion to remove the Mercer contract that I tabled 6 weeks ago, I think, to bring it back into committee.
Motion to put back on the table?
Yes, to put it back on the table. Okay, so we have approval and support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. Any opposed? Okay, Madam Clerk, could you pass out that item? The reason I had tabled this about a month ago, 6 weeks ago, is because there was a contesting letter from the company that did not win the bid on this. So, Aaron, could you come up here? I just want everybody to have a chance to look at this. I had some questions on this, and I know that you met with our attorney and some of the administration. And it sounds like it all boiled down to the fact that a bid form, 2 pages of a bid form were not filled out.
Yes, Aaron Wagner, Procurement Director. Yes, so within our bid documents, there is the bid form, which is a required form through all solicitations that actually has a wet signature from the supplier that confirms that, you know, this bid is what they're submitting, they're going to hold to. It's basically their contract to us that this bid is valid.
Okay, I guess my question is, someone that goes to all this trouble, I mean, this was a minority company, the lowest bidder, how could they miss 2 pages of a form like that? I mean, do you have to submit this in sections, or do you submit it all at one time, or how does this work?
I've seen it multiple ways. So I've seen where companies will take their entire bid packet and submit it under one giant file. And I've seen it where companies will parcel it out. And so there are different sections that, as you go through our solicitation documents, you know, there'll be a section that goes over the county's terms and conditions, whether they accept them or not. There'll be the actual proposal, you know, there'll be the score sheet, there'll be the bid form. And so the bid form itself is a document that in bold letters, it says at the top that this must be completed in order for your bid to be accepted. And then throughout the solicitation documents, there are different sections that reference this particular document itself.
Okay, so it was a 2-page document?
It's a 2-page, you know, if you print it out, it'd be front and back.
Okay.
So, and it's at the beginning of the document, throughout the document, and at the base of the document, right where you sign, it says that this must be completed and submitted in with the bid package. Otherwise, your bid will not be accepted.
And it was more than the signature that was missing, it was the
It was the
information?
entire document itself,
Okay,
correct.
all right. So after looking into this, and Felicia was nice enough to meet with the administration on this, I wanted to bring this forward. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, can he go through a little bit of the underground repair?
Is your mic on?
It's in 3 different areas, and one of them in my district on Sibley Road. Can you
Okay,
explain
I don't know
that
if you
little
know
bit
all
in
about the
detail?
item, or someone is here to.
I do know that it's to replace underground storage tanks. I believe they're fuel tanks. Can someone from the department discuss it?
Because here the contract, it's a repair, and you
Yep.
said replace.
Oh, I'm not a subject matter expert on that part of it, but
Commissioner Palmer?
I'll wait till.
Oh, okay.
I have questions on process.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. So no one's here to answer Commissioner Haddis's questions?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I'm Public Works Roads Division.
Okay, make sure you put your mic on. There you go.
I don't have all the information right now. I'm supposed to meet with Dale, who is in charge of that particular project. So
Okay.
I'll be more than happy to gather all the information that's required, and I will report back ASAP.
Okay. ASAP as in
Like, probably by the end of the day.
by the end of the day. Is that okay with you, Commissioner Haddis, or? Okay.
As long as we get it before next meeting.
Okay, as long as we get it before the next, before the
ma'am.
full board.
Okay.
Okay, Commissioner Palomara?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So in instances like this, where a form, two-page form is not submitted, and it says on there, when you sign this, make sure everything's submitted or you will not be considered. Is that a permanent DQ then? In other words, so even if they appeal, they can't say, oh, we missed this page, here's the form now. Too late, sorry?
correct.
Okay.
Yep, and that has been the county's practice under my tenure, under the previous procurement director's tenure. That is one of the areas that we have not deviated from. Corporation Counsel went through multiple bid protests we received over the years, and that is one area that the county
That
is
is
very
sacred.
firm. Yes.
Okay.
How often do you see this happen?
I think since I've been here, since 2016, this is the third time that that's happened. Yep.
Okay,
The question is, when somebody submit contract like that, you receive it by mail or somebody bring it in or it's sealed process?
It's actually, we receive them through BidNet, so it's all electronic. They upload all of their documentation into Mitten/BidNet. And so it's all, once the solicitation is closed, they're no longer able to change or modify any of the solicitations.
How it got here to us without the 2 pages?
The document itself, from I'm not exactly certain how they missed it. The bid itself, they submitted their bid. I can go back and take a look to see if they submitted it in
Yeah,
parcel
because, you
or
know,
if it was in
the
whole.
normal thing, if the document is not complete, we don't go through all the process to get to the committee. And then we have to table it, then bring it back. It should be cut from the beginning.
Oh, no, it was caught from the beginning. I think the reason it got tabled is when we sent the bid package through, procurement in my department, I'll take the hit on this, we neglected to include the protest and the response to the protest for the bid package. So that was the issue from the package that you had received.
that's right, Commissioner. We didn't get all the information when this came to the committee. We didn't get the protest letter from the company that didn't get the bid. So when we realized we didn't get that, that's why we tabled it. And since that time,
We've sent it on.
yeah, sent it on, but it came down to this.
Thank you.
Are you all set, Commissioner Hayes? Okay. Commissioner Baker McCormick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a clarification in how the system is set up. So when you submit each document, is there a way that once you submit each document, maybe the system says complete or all of the documents needed to submit this bid is complete? Is there any message like that at all?
I know from BidNet, you know, once all of the bid is uploaded, there is an opportunity before you submit for the suppliers to go through and review everything. Different systems and, you know, if, like the way that Oracle does the new solicitation system, you know, that particular bid document could be set up as a mandatory bid document in itself, so it won't allow them to actually submit in the
Right.
future. And so, you know, there are different fixes that we can do from a future state. It's just the way that BidNet is set up right now, it's a little bit different. It's because that's a universal, the county doesn't own it, it's a third party, but, you know, the state of Michigan, with the exception of the city of Detroit, basically every municipality throughout the state uses this to post their bids, which is kind of a nice, from a supplier's perspective, it's a one-stop shop for, you know, public bids. But you know, we can go back and take a look and see if there's another thing or another step that we can do just to make sure that you know, suppliers don't encounter this again. Certainly, it's not our intent to disclose or to close out a bid from anybody, but at the same time, when this happens, in all fairness, we can't accept bids or make exceptions for one if we can't for everybody else.
And that's understandable. I guess for me, you know, when I purchase something online or when I'm going through an application process or something online, it usually indicates like maybe you missed a document or all of the steps in the process isn't complete. And if we had that, then maybe this, you know, situation wouldn't occur.
Yep.
Okay, thank
Certainly.
you.
That's a great point. That would be great, because I'm sure companies that put all this work into a bid and get turned down because of a simple two-page form has got to be very disappointing.
Yep.
Any other questions or, and Commissioner, we're going to get all that information then before the end of the day. So this is a 390-day contract with R.W. Mercer Company to repair underground storage tanks. This, if this comes out of committee today, it would be contingent with formally giving the whole packet, the protest bid, all that formally coming into that.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep. We have the information, and so we, you know, once it gets returned to draft, we'll re-upload the complete package.
Okay, and one other question. If I hadn't been notified there was a bid protest, are we ever missing things that have protests that are not coming to us like this did?
No, in this is an exception to the rule, and so yeah, you know, I've talked with my staff to make sure that, you know, this was oversight on who had uploaded it, and so we're very diligent on when the bid protests come through and what you receive with them.
Okay.
You know, so this is the only time that's happened.
Okay,
Yep.
all right, sounds good. Okay, we have an approval. Any support? Any more questions? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Any abstaining? Okay, motion passes. And again, contingent with formally getting those documents into this.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Okay, next item.
Item E1, communication from the Department of Public Services forwarding the July 2019 report of all complaint calls made to 1888 road crew.
Okay, so receive and file.
So move.
Okay. We have an approval.
Support.
Okay, support. All those in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, next item.
Item 2, requesting commission approval of a 3-month professional services contract with R.W. Mercer for the upgrade, maintenance, and repair, including resolving software problems of the PetroVen automatic fuel dispensing units located at the central maintenance yard.
Okay, thank you. This is another Mercer contract, the one that we just took off the table. I know I have a question on this. Does anybody have any questions before we start? Good morning.
Good morning, Derek Coley, Equipment Division Director. This is separate from the other R.W. Mercer contract that has come before you. This is strictly for a software upgrade, a card reader, and other necessary items to upgrade the pump system at CMY. It also includes the licensing for the 9 other sites that will be upgraded as well. And as part of, I guess, as part of this contract, the scope includes everything above ground at CMY. Doesn't have anything to do with the underground tanks. This is just to make sure that our fuel flows at CMY from the tanks that we have there, from the dispensers that we have there. We are currently on manual, where we have to have a stockroom employee turn the pumps on with a key, and there are certain times of day where the operators bring their vehicles and equipment there to fuel up. So this upgrade was probably necessary 15 years ago, and we finally got this far. It includes software upgrade for reporting. There is a workstation in our stockroom where one of our stockroom employees does the reporting, monthly reporting, and also the connectivity between that one terminal that is the central terminal for the fuel management system. That one terminal will receive the upgrade, and it will basically be the base for all other 9.
Okay, so we've never done this before? Never done this kind of upgrade before?
Probably 30 years ago, maybe.
Okay,
Between 20
so
and
I'm
30
just
years
wondering
ago.
why it's a comparable source, and it's a 3-month contract.
Yes, it is to upgrade our existing equipment, and if we had not limited it to this, it would have been a whole lot more money. But since we already have R.W. Mercer equipment, then we are just basically adding on and upgrading what we already have. Otherwise, we would have had to scrap and start over from scratch. But this upgrade is what we need, and it will carry us on for, for years to come.
So this is actually Mercer's equipment?
Yes, it's actually Mercer's equipment that is already in use, and this equipment or this upgrade is, I guess you could say, it's just to take out what's old and unusable and obsolete and put in new stuff so that we continue operating with basically the equipment that we already have.
Okay.
Through the chair, this
Could you introduce yourself again?
Aaron Wagner, Procurement Director. Through the chair, this could have been considered a sole source because it's an update to Mercer equipment, but because this equipment, multiple companies could supply this type, we determined that it was really more of a comparable source because, the definition of a comparable source is multiple companies may be able to perform this, but this is the best company to do it because of this exact reason. And because it was existing Mercer equipment, we viewed that, okay, sole source, there are a lot of different fuel companies that could have done this, but we were sticking with Mercer, so we thought the comparable source was a better fit.
So it's just a 3-month contract, so that's going to upgrade everything? You won't have to come back with
Correct.
anything?
Yep,
Okay.
it's a one-time upgrade.
It's a one-time upgrade? And you don't have to replace any of that this is all running smoothly? You can use this system with this upgrade?
Absolutely, yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. And why didn't we do this before, for the last 15 or 20 years, if we had the Mercer equipment there? I'm just a little confused on this.
Through the chair, I was I joined Wayne County in 2016. There had been talks. I think the difficulty in the past was because there were so many different groups that had to be involved. You've got the equipment division and IPPM, which is our stock room. They handle the management and the reporting, and the inventory, which is the fuel in the tanks. We have building maintenance involved because they handle the underground storage tanks, and the vendor themselves as well. So once we determined that this just could not go on any longer, we were having connectivity issues. A lot of the yards were down and operators had to go to other yards to get fuel. We just had to bring everybody together, and I think that was the reason why it wasn't done 10 years ago or so.
Okay. All right. All right, committee members, do we have a?
I'll move approval.
Support.
Okay, we have approval and support. Any more questions? All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next item.
Item 3, requesting commission approval of a 3-year sole source contract with Jack Doheny Companies to provide Vector Manufacturing, Inc. sewer equipment parts and repair services for the Department of Public Services.
Okay, another sole source. Any questions? Okay, we have an approval and a support. Any questions, comments? All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Motion passes. Next item.
Item 4, requesting commission approval of a contract with the Michigan Department of Transportation for road improvements along Allen Road from West Road to King Road.
Support.
Road work. All right, any questions? All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Motion passes. Next item.
Item 5, requesting commission approval of a retroactive modification 1 to a contract with the 1-year option to renew with Siemens Industry, Inc. to reopen the original blanket order and to add additional funds for the building automation service agreement.
Thank you. Okay, is someone here for this? I just have a couple questions on this. I don't know if anybody else does, but this is to kind of shore up.
Sure. Yeah, Tom Kelly, Director of Capital Development, Building Administration. A bit of background context on this contract. Wayne County had been using Siemens for about 30 years to manage its building automation systems. Typically, this additional funding would have been sort of rolled over to the next contract and paid for out of there. However, in January of last year, we opted to terminate the contract with Siemens because we felt that we were not getting the value in the contract that we were paying. So what happened in this situation is what typically would have been paid through the next contract were outstanding invoices. They did not get us till the blanket purchase order had already closed. And so this is this essentially allows us to completely close out that previous contract with Siemens and move on.
Okay, and this matches up all the invoices.
Yeah, it does. And you know, they waited 6 months before they sent us the final invoices. And it's really, the problem is because they were on sort of a regular maintenance schedule, with our building automation, they wouldn't alert us every time they were coming out, and so it was impossible for us to know what they were billing until they sent us the invoices. And so this was just sort of the last tranche of tech calls that they took while they were still in our contract.
And that's not going to happen again with the various companies that you have now?
Oh, what
working
we've
this?
done is we've actually taken the work that Siemens was previously doing and sort of parceled that out to smaller local vendors, and it's actually worked out great.
Okay. All right, any questions? Do we have approval?
Move approval.
Okay,
Support.
all right, thank you. We have approval and support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Motion passes. Next item.
Item 6, requesting commission approval of modification 1 to a contract with LJ Construction, Inc. for the Ellsworth Boardwalk and Trailhead Parking Lot Phase 1 project for the Department of Public Services Parks
Okay.
Division.
Thank you. This is just an extension. We've talked about this several times. Does anybody have any questions on this, the Holiday Park?
Support.
Okay, we have an approval and support. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Next item, 7.
Item 7, requesting commission approval of Amendment 1 to a 2-year construction contract with Toby Construction LLC for the reconstruction of the Walls Road Bridge for the Department of Public Services Road Division.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on this?
So move. Anytime we need to fix a bridge. I
Exactly.
Support.
Okay, we have an approval and support. Any other comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Motion passes. Number 8.
Item 8, requesting commission approval of a 4-year sole source contract with Alta Enterprises LLC, Alta Equipment Company, to provide OEM champion grader parts and repair services for the Department of Public Services Equipment Division.
Thank you. Okay, another sole source.
Move approval.
Support.
Okay, we have an approval and support. Any questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Item number 9.
Item 9, requesting commission approval of a retroactive Amendment 1 to a 1-year shared services agreement with the Downriver Utility Wastewater Authority to
Okay, that's good, thank you. Okay, this is just kind of a maintenance. as this moves over, and it looks like it's only to be for about 6 more months. Any questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item.
Item 10, requesting commission approval of a modification 1 to a contract with Commando Law Company LLC.
Thank you. I know there were some concerns from our commission council about 2 different contracts coming to us and adding up more than it would have been for 1 contract. Do you know what I was saying?
Kind of.
Because the first contract was for 20,000, this is for 40,000, and instead of coming to us all as an over 50,000.
Tom Kelly, Director of Capital Development and Building Administration. This is kind of a unique contract, too. So this is part of sort of our efforts on bringing in local vendors into the fold for Wayne County. Previously, we have been using a lock company out of New Jersey for the past, I don't know how many years, 20 years. They were very slow to respond. It took a while for shipment. So we identified this company that's based in Troy, and I wanted to sort of give them sort of a test to figure out if what their products offered really fit our needs before kind of going big in with them. And so that was why we went to it with a $20,000 contract, which got eaten up really quickly because it did turn out that their products were satisfactory what we're looking for, and that's why we've come back for the second modification.
And this went out to bid?
This, well, this was, it did not go out to bid at first. We essentially we got rid of the old vendor and then went with a new vendor because we couldn't find anyone else that could provide sort of on-demand lock capabilities, which is what we need. An example of why this is needed came up when we had an emergency over at Lincoln Hall last summer. We needed to put a chiller on site. We had to fence that. We wanted to lock it up because there are live cables that are feeding into the building. And so that's an example of where we needed sort of on-demand lock capabilities, and there was really no one in the area that could provide that. And so we found this group.
Okay,
So they provide a very unique sort of service for us.
all right. Any questions? All right.
For approval.
Support.
We have an approval and support. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item.
Item 11, requesting commission approval of a 4-year contract with Exotic Automation and Supply.
Okay,
Support.
any questions? We have an approval and support. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Next item, E12.
Item 12, requesting commission approval of a contract with the Michigan Department of Transportation.
Move approval.
Commissioner Dodd moves approval. Her area.
Varga
For our
supports.
support. Yep. Any questions, Commissioner Dodd? Okay. All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Number 13.
Item 13, requesting commission approval of a 1-year comparable source contract with Working Gear.
Okay, thank you. There's been a change in our number 13 under the roads equipment. Under, the
First iteration of it. Yeah, the first time it comes up, it's actually supposed
okay,
to be maintenance.
maintenance, okay. Under, when you look at our information on number 13, near the bottom, it talks about 58,000 coming out of the roads equipment. That's supposed to be maintenance, that fund. I have a question on this. Anybody here for this? So comparable source, comparable source.
I can answer it.
I'm wondering how a comparable source with employee uniforms, when it seems like there's a zillion employee uniform companies out there.
Right. I think this item, number 13, is for uniform vouchers for employees, and they get approximately $200 per employee. And there are various different divisions that are involved in that: equipment, engineering, roads, and parks.
Okay.
This was per the collective bargaining.
Oh, it is.
agreement, yes.
Okay, it's through the, okay. All right. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, we have an approval and support. Any questions, comments? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Now on to, yes. to discussion for? Yes. Yes. Let's to go to the addendas first? Yes, that's fine with me. Yep. So let's go to addenda number 15.
Item 15, requesting commission approval of a modification 1 to a 3-year sole source contract with Spartan Distributors.
Okay, any questions on this? I hope you were all able to see this, came later.
Support.
Okay, we have an approval and support on this. Questions, comments? All right, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye, any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Next addendum.
Item 16, requesting commission approval of a sole source contract with Carrier and Gable, Inc.
Okay. Sole Source. We've had contracts with them for years.
Move approval.
Okay. All right. Any questions, comments? All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item, Madam Clerk.
14, discussion on the ongoing efforts to improve response time on the enormous amount of calls and inquiries made to 1888 Road Crew.
Okay, thank you. Have a call center update, which we really appreciate. No, thank you for doing this.
I think we just,
We- Did everybody get one?
everybody's got a copy of us.
Yep. Yep. Okay, thank you for being here today. That's right, you got it.
It keeps going off. Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Beverly Watts, Director of Department of Public Services, and we'll go around here, if you don't mind, for introductions.
Good morning, I'm Michael McGrath, Department Manager of Wyoming Yard and Roads Maintenance.
Okay.
If I maybe stop real quick, I want to bring him because he's actually lives it every day. He's one of our district managers over our Wyoming Yard in Detroit, so he actually can be the one who can really tell you experience of how they receive them and how he's trying to respond to them and his team.
Great.
Steve Shea, DPS, Deputy Director of Roads.
Okay, thank you.
Tony Bellinger, Department Manager, Call Center IT.
Robert Johnson, Information Technology, Director of Technology Experience.
Okay, thank you.
And I also want to introduce our other Deputy Director of Roads, Robin Rivers. Some of you may know her. She formerly worked in our Labor Relations Department, so she handles the administration portion of our roads. And then we have Michelle. She works with our company that we've hired to assist us to receive the calls in the call center for us. So
Great.
I want to welcome both of them as well. Thank you again, Chair, and the committee for having us here. One thing I want to do is update on an initiative we started several years ago. As everyone knows, the road crew number was really isolated and centralized for the roads division. What DPS attempted to do a couple years ago was really expand that and have it for the whole department. So that way you can still call that number and you had an inquiry or any kind of comment you wanted about parks or our environment area or even our equipment division, you could do so. And doing that, what we did, we went through and we developed, we got some assistance from our outside vendor to assist us in that endeavor, because basically what we had dwindled to by the time I became director really was 3 budgeted positions, and 2 of them were filled and 1 was on medical. So we knew that wasn't enough for individuals to be there receiving calls for a county this size. So what we want to do is get assistance from someone from the outside and then develop and initiate a structure of some end users in every area who would receive the calls, and then we would try to get the responses. Well, we didn't know. Some of it worked very well, and some things going through this process obviously is not working so well. What we've determined, because we've instituted a focus group to look at this, and a lot of other people are part of our focus group, we couldn't bring them down, but these are the main principles. And what we discovered so far since we've been looking at this issue this summer is that the calls coming in and and receiving them, all of that is working very well. It's really the output and when it goes to the end users. And that's where we believe things are lagging. Now, having said that, let me just be honest. To date, from January up until last Friday, and Mr. Bellinger, who works and monitors the calls, we received well over 22,000 calls. Well over 22,000 calls. And so even if we had an army or a team, that's just a lot of calls for, to be honest, the resources that we have. So I want everybody to remember that and keep that premise. For the number of calls we receive, for the largest county in this state, we do not have enough staff, and I don't think you could have, because that's a lot of calls. When people now in a world with social media, people want stuff real time, and they want to answer real time, and they think you can just go out and fix things real time. So we still work with the premise that we're going to do the best we can do with what we have. We won't let that stop us because of the enormous amount of calls that we receive. So what we worked with, we started looking at the end users. And like I said, we identified end users for every division that we had. So meaning when Michelle and her team gets the call, we would log them in. And the first thing everyone would get, which they was not getting before, is an automatic within 48 hours, you're going to get acknowledgement. That's just an acknowledgement of your call or your email, because you can contact us both ways, via email or by a call. Then that inquiry is sent out immediately over to the district, whatever the inquiry it falls into. And then that's where it goes to, for example, Mr. McGrath, Michael McGrath, who's the district manager at Wyoming. This where we see it was a little lagging, and we found out why, because it's so enormous for them to do. Really what we know now is that the end users probably should not have been the district managers. And the reason why is the district manager has 10 to 15 daily functions on their plate already. And then they have to get a crew out with their foreman. So they're doing a lot of things. So to add on a lot of calls in their district, and then to say, hey, you got to also assign somebody to go out and assess this on top of everything you're doing, and then put it back in the system, that's where the lag time comes in. Because by the time, say, if they get a lot of calls on Monday, they still have their 10 things on their plate they have to do. They're probably going to get to it Tuesday, Wednesday when they're able to assess the situation. By the time Thursday, Friday come, guess what? They have an enormous new calls. So it's like that mouse on that wheel, and everything is just piling up. I can let Michael go through and explain on that piece of how that experience is. Before we go through, I want to bottom line and summarize what we're going to do. The two immediate changes that we've done is that we are going to repurpose, and we're getting 2 support staff. They're in the process now, HR are identifying those individuals. Hopefully they'll be on board in January going through the hiring process. And they will be dedicated. We have 6 districts. So we're going to have 2 individuals, and they're going to take 3 districts apiece, and that's their sole function, their task is to now just, when the call center sends that inquiry over, what their job is to do is to make sure, get it to Michael McGrath, and really they're not going to report to the DM, they're going to be their worst enemy, because they're going to make sure that everyone is getting that response, and they're going to be that one that's putting it in the system and really keeping a timer on them to get the response back in the system, therefore it can go back to the citizen. The other tool that we're going to have to help a district manager and the individuals in the field is to give these tablets. Because what's occurring in, and Michael, you can explain real quickly, say for example, if an inquiry came in for a pothole, the time it takes you to assign or yourself to go out there, the time we've lost, it may take a week, 2, 3 days. How a tablet is going to help you.
If, for example, again, I'm Michael McGrath, I'm sorry. For example, I could be on a job on the east side of Detroit near Grosse Pointe Farms. A call comes in for the southernmost west side of Detroit, which we all know is almost 40 minutes drive without much traffic. To get over there and check that complaint and not have my computer with me to put real-time investigation inquiries or comments, a half a day could be lost right there, and that's one. And like she said, we get a plethora of calls from that start of the day till the end of the day. There'd be no way to even try to get to all of them at one day. It must let's respond to those. So it's almost essential for what we do.
So we're hoping, because that's just one example for one specific type of a call. Of course, we know we get calls about traffic studies, signs, potholes, tree. What we try to do, and we do elevate those calls that appear to be a safety issue. If we have something that's overgrown or something in our right-of-way that's a blind spot, of course, we're going to push those right up because anything dealing with safety, we have to try to get to those first. But we do believe getting the tablets, getting into all the DMs in their hands, having them where they can just go out there, and then it's going to save time. They don't have to come back to there. And so that's going to help us too with the tool. Then we're changing up the spreadsheet of how they're going to systematically keep track of the calls that's coming in through their 2 support staff that they're going to have. We're changing the whole format of that. That way you're not losing what calls came in on Monday because now you on Friday, and then the calls that came in before are getting lost and never getting addressed. Because our ultimate goal is, no matter what the scenario is, some things we can do real quickly. If it's a pothole, if it's a tree fell down or something like that. Other inquiries, when people say, I want my road to be done, well, everybody knows that's problematic because, you know, you're going on a needs list, your FAC committee, you're doing things like that. Traffic studies, everyone says, okay, I think I need a traffic light here. Well, we don't make that final determination. We would do the traffic study. We refer that information over to MSP and the local municipality. It's a lot that goes into that. Some of the things where it's a simple low-hanging fruit, we can. But more importantly, my message into the team is whether we can solve that problem for you today, in a week, or a whole year, you deserve a response. And that's the ultimate goal of where we're trying to get through. We don't want to have you out there hanging. And we definitely don't want to close anything out and then nothing's done, because then you're irritated. If someone calls us, a lot of times they're already on 10. So imagine if they don't hear back and then they believe we've closed it out, and then they think nothing's done. So that's not the experience that we want anyone to have. If we can't do it, our thing is we want to explain to you in a good customer service way why we can't do it right now. Hopefully, if we can, in some instances, give you an idea, a time frame when we can get to it. But more importantly, our ultimate goal is to respond to everyone who contacts us. Now, out of that 22,000 calls, we can say, and Tony can probably speak to that, a lot of them some of them are repetitive calls, because when you get to pothole season, you can have 10 to 15 people calling for that same pothole. So then we got to identify that because there's more tickets that's open. And then they have to go through, when they go through and identify, okay, 15 people have called about the same pothole, which another thing triggers us, that's a safety issue. So we'll try to put that up. But then what's going to happen is they're going to close all of the other 14 out and keep that one, instead of having them running around about the same pothole. A lot of things that will occur too when individuals call. It would be nice, Michelle and her team does a good job of trying to get that information out. It's hard when somebody emails you because they'll leave everything off. They may say, hey, at Michigan on the Drive, there's a pothole. Well, that may not help because you're really not specifically. They'll go out and look for the pothole, and you can't really see where it is. Maybe it's more east or it's more west. So some of the times the inquiries that come in is just not easy to identify and don't have all the necessary information that's needed. And then they did not leave their contact information. And then maybe the second time they call, they maybe call one of your offices, and then we'll look, and sometimes contact information wasn't even available for someone to be able to reach back out there and give them a response. So it suggests a variety of issues that go in there. But what we want to do, and we want to come before this body to let you know, we recognize it's an enormous amount of calls, and we have not conquered this beast yet of really responding in the time or the fashion that we would like. We're also consulting with other road agencies who have this enormous problem. And some things, I'm not going to out anyone, they're not even trying to tackle it. They say, I applaud you guys for trying to tackle it. We can't tackle it, especially when individuals want information in real time. They want infrastructure redone. We don't have the resources to try. Well, we want to try. Whether we're going to go to an automated system, maybe that's something we have to do, where we just put our resources where you don't have anybody answering the phone. Everybody just got to send it to us electronically, and then you put the resources you do have just trying to fill those emails. So we're trying to look at everything until we try to get to a good, reasonable percentage of what we can do for a county this size.
So, Bev, when someone calls, is the goal to actually call them back on the phone?
Or email.
Or email them?
Really, it's emailed. I think, and Michelle can explain too, I think it's it would be more efficient because you don't have enough staff. Any given day, and let me tell you, you're probably only dealing with maybe 8 people.
No, I understand.
On any given day, 8 people, so it's not feasible. The best solution would be via email, and I mean, Michelle, I think you would say that would be the best source. is email.
Okay, so how many, you actually have 22,000 calls, or this includes the emails as well?
Yes, Tony can speak to that, what that includes.
Tony
Service
Bellinger.
requests, so I don't know
Yes,
what
that
that-
includes both calls and requests that come off the internet.
So what percentage are phone calls, would you say?
Probably about 75, 80%.
Oh, are phone calls?
Yes.
Okay, okay. Yeah. A lot of phone calls.
A lot of
It's
them
a lot of phone
You're
calls.
driving down the road and I see a hole, you're calling a number before you're gonna email it.
Right.
By the time you get.
Clicking.
Yeah, because by the time a resident get home, I mean, we see the same thing, you know, you got other things that hit you. Your kids may be asking for something and it's off your mind, but if you see it right then, and then you're probably gonna more apt to call, which is a good segue into some of the technology tools that we're trying to do. And we have Mr. Johnson here from Do It, and he could explain some of the ways that they've been really working with us to help citizens communicate with us too on a technology base.
Hello. So one of the reasons why email is preferable, even if they call in to respond with an email, is because, as Ms. Watts was saying, that if 15 people respond and ask about a certain pothole, calling each one of them back is 15 phone calls, but it can be a single email. It's just a much more efficient process to close out these tickets. And one of the pieces that we have helped DPS develop is within CityWorks, there's what's called a work order, and a work order can have multiple service requests attached to it. And we have created a method for them to respond to close out all of the service requests associated with that work order with a custom message, so you can actually supply all of the information to them. Previously, each service request had to be responded to individually. Now you can mass close them, and so that will help on certain pieces. One of the other pieces that we have developed is 15 and 30-day reports to show when certain requests have not been responded to within those timeframes. It alerts the managers that something is pending, so they have a reminder that no one has contacted this person within 30 days. Please respond to the constituent and fill them in on whatever information we have at the moment. The other piece was, as we were discussing the iPads, tablets. There is a need for the people in the field to communicate in real time, as Mike was saying, that having to print out all of your work orders, take them into the field, fill them out, come back, input them at the end of the day. Are you going to spend the time inputting at the end of the day, or would you rather spend that time out in the field working where you need to? Adding that the ability to be mobile with these responses will increase a lot of efficiency with those various crews.
Absolutely.
Right. And on that point again, I think with the major 2 points, because we receive the emails where we'll have any given commissioner, and I thank you for your patience in advance, you'll say, hey, it's 10 SRs here, and we've received no response, and you're probably right. In some cases, we'll have them look at. But we believe with the 2 new tools that we're going to try to put in place, with the 2 new support staff that's going to be assigned 3 districts apiece, and that's their primary task. In addition to now having the DMs and foremans in the field with the tablet, real time, we should be able to put a dent. Now, I don't want to put a falsity here. Anybody knows me know I'm just real transparent. Will we be back at this table, or will you stop getting calls? Will you never get a call again and say my SR? Absolutely, you're going to continue to get calls. Our goal is ultimately, hopefully, to eliminate that, but to lessen that. Because again, overall, for the number of calls that we receive, we do not have the resources to respond. And that's just the reality. And it's not about hiring more staff. We have vacancies now. So it's just about the size of the county, the real-time expectation of people now, and basically your infrastructure, whether it's a drain, it's not just a pothole. We get a lot of calls about drains now. I know Commissioner Haddis knows that. So it's drains, and those are more problematic. We can go out, and yes, we have the Vactor, and they could go ahead and suck that out and clean it out, but guess what? Over time, it's gonna come back again. So it depends on the inquiry. We just committed to come here to let you know it's not lost on us, and we're gonna continue to do the best we can and put some new tools in place, but we're really kind of excited about having dedicated staff who would just look at it and changing up our end users from the district managers and then supplying them with the tablets so they'll be in the field. And we're just hoping that this is gonna be better, where we won't receive a list of 10, that maybe from commissioners, we might say, hey, it's 1 or 2, and that'll make us feel good. 'cause
That's
we can
great.
tackle that.
I know there's some questions from commissioners. Commissioner Baidoon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Director Watts, thank you for being here again. In an effort to bring some humor to our discussion, I just want to thank you for taking 30% of the 22,000 complaints about Miller Road and Miller Bridge.
Absolutely.
On a serious note, my question is, out of the 22,000 calls or emails that you have received, how many would you say, or what percentage are duplicate related to one issue? Like one particular pothole, let's say.
We basically had somewhere in the neighborhood of, we looked at duplicates, we looked at things that were not our jurisdiction. We had about 4,000 calls that were not our jurisdiction, duplicate internet requests, duplicate calls. So about somewhere in the neighborhood of 4,000 fell into that realm.
So do I take it that you have not responded to all of those 22,000 requests? Have you been able to, obviously you don't have enough staff to respond to all of them, but what percentage would you say you have responded to?
Initially, when the service request is created, there's an automatic email that goes out in a response so that the citizen has an idea that Wayne County has received their request and that it's actually in our system. At the next point, when it gets sent over to the DM, then it gets acknowledged. So there's a process there by which they get the notification, and then once the DM receives that request, then they also acknowledge that request as well.
They'll get a receipt of the call they made initially when it first comes in, and shortly after that, it's sent to myself. They'll get another receipt. Within 48 hours, I have to acknowledge that. We have a selection of acknowledged, in process, not ours, and I have to respond to that one way or another within 48 hours. So they'll get an updated acknowledgement at the very least, and some comments. Again, those comments can't go too detailed because of all the complaints coming in and the time we don't have. So we'll give them a short description of, we'll get a crew out there to assess this, or I'll myself personally go and investigate this as soon as possible. Please allow up to this much time for us to respond.
Just a follow-up question. Do any of these 22,000 calls or correspondence or requests, do they include MDOT roads that we maintain, like Michigan
Absolutely.
Avenue, Ford Road?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that does include MDOT roads. Okay, thank you.
Next, Commissioner Baker McFarland.
Thank you. And a couple questions. The email. What is the email
Do the,
to email you guys?
once they submit the complaint.
No, she wants to know the email.
Yeah, to
address.
email,
Email you.
Email address.
email complaints to.
It's DPS administration. That's one of the emails that get requests. Primarily, most of those requests do come into the call center, and we prefer that they do come into the call center. That way, we don't have to dig through a bunch of emails. We can assign you that call and that call number
Yeah,
so
she
we
just
can
wanted to
track
know what
it.
the email address was.
I'm sorry,
It was
DPS
something
administration.
Yes, administration.
Right. Right.
So DPS admin.
I'm sorry, it's DPS Help Administration.
And we will email that to you.
Okay,
everyone.
great. Just to be clear, okay. Because you did say that
Yes.
that was the best way. And I
absolutely.
didn't know
Absolutely.
the email, so I would have
Right.
gave it out. So
Because even though we do receive a lot of phone calls, but yes, they can email, and some
Okay,
people will
great.
like that. So we'll make sure everyone gets the email address.
And the 3 individuals that you're thinking about assigning, I don't know if this is.
Two.
Two, okay. When you assign them, will you send us an email, or can you, so that we know who is the person over our districts?
See, what we're going to do is we have 6 districts, 6 district roads districts where we have the yards at. So
Okay.
we're going to assign them 3 districts apiece,
I
not the
see.
commission
Not the
districts.
okay.
Right. So it will be the districts that's housed in the roads district because of how they're broken down.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Probably want to keep their names secret. right?
Absolutely. They're going to be busy working.
Okay, and street sweeping. I'm fighting this war on trash.
Absolutely. You to be applauded for that too.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Is there a schedule that you have, like for last year?
Yeah.
I got calls about, well, when was it swept, and when are the next schedule?
Yeah, the cycles.
Yes.
Because we'll do sweeping in cycles, and I believe, Steve, I think you forwarded over, but we'll make sure we get it back to you. What we normally do every April, we will release all the capital projects for our roads and engineering and parks division, and then we will include our mowing schedule. This year, we didn't do a lot of sweeping schedule because MDOT has cut back on road agencies as far as funding for sweeping, but we still have areas that we require to sweep. So we will give you the schedule, and I believe we had that for this year, but next year, even though it's limited, we will include the sweeping schedule cycle, because it's cycles that's into the packet to make sure you'll have it, and that way you and your constituents will know when we're anticipated in the area for sweeping.
Great, great. And then the last question, you talked about a traffic study. And I think I mentioned before West 6 Mile, there has been a lot of traffic accidents, and even the request for road humps to slow down the traffic. I think we talked about it briefly. But is there a way to get an additional street light on West 6 Mile? Because the speed limit, of course, there is a speed limit, but folks don't follow it all the time. But if we could slow them down in between, I would say Southfield Road to Evergreen, I don't think there's a light.
Yeah. What we can do, we'll get the information from you, and then we'll give it over to our traffic engineer to see the last time a traffic study was done. And then we'll see, we can have it there. And then, but again, we just give the information to MSP and local municipality. We don't make the final determination whether a light can go up or cannot, but we can conduct the study.
Great.
So Steve,
Okay.
he will get with you right after this meeting and get the detailed information.
Great.
And we'll pass it over to our traffic engineers, and we'll make sure, let's try to get a response either way from him before a holiday break.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All set? Commissioner Palomero.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I acknowledge up front I am very technologically challenged, so what I'm asking may make 0 sense, but in order to save time, since so many of these complaints are about the same spot, I guess, same pothole or same, is it possible when they call in or email in that you say, we received your complaint, and then the onus becomes on them to check a website that says, okay, this is the location you referred to, and it either says repairs pending or repairs complete, to save you time from contacting all of these people back, let them go to a website to check out, okay, where's this thing at? They can check every day. You're not going to call them every day.
Right, exactly. Michelle, do you want to speak to that? How do your team do when you have repeated calls and you can see in the system that they're calling about the same issue? Do you say that instead of having to call everyone back independently or email?
Normally, if we get the call in for the same, is the customer for the same thing, we can give them the updates that's provided in the service request from the district managers. If it is something that is like a tire buster or something that needs immediate attention, we will call the district manager and ask them to send someone to that.
Okay, I'm just trying to save you all time from
That
having
makes
to
a lot of sense.
recontact
Yes.
everybody back, refer them to a website that says,
Right.
check it out. This is where it's at. This is the
Absolutely.
status. Okay.
They do that.
They do
They
that.
do that, yes, sir.
Okay.
I've witnessed it where I'm getting calls, we'll say West 6 Mile, for example, because it was just brought up. And there's a large hole at that intersection, and the call room personnel will say, hey, we've just got like 3 calls for this. There's a service request number, whatever, generated, and they'll say, okay, sir or ma'am, we've already received several calls for this, and currently there's a request in. This is the number. If you follow up, you have a number to look at. They're currently doing that.
Okay.
To the best of their ability.
One other thing is, we just had a meeting about a week ago, and one of the things we determined in that meeting at our focus group is exactly what you were talking about. We indicated that we were gonna input additional information to the citizen when they call in, that it's available for them to go to the website and
Okay.
get additional information, and that probably they'll be serviced faster if they do that. So we determined a week ago that that is a message that we're going to have when they call into this call center and also on the website.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. And Commissioner Dobb. Yep.
Thank you. I just have 2 quick questions. For the more complex requests, such as something that engineering would need to be involved in or a traffic study, will those tickets be updated as that process is worked on? So I know that there would be several steps so that either my department or the constituent can watch what's happening with that.
Yes, especially, for example, if you're saying someone's calling in saying, when will our street or road be redone or reconstructed?
Right, or when
And
will
so,
that, like when will a light be put up in this intersection?
if we have that information, absolutely, absolutely. Again, so for example, if somebody is asking for a new light to be put up, we do a traffic study, and then that's passed on to other entities. But again, it's going to say, because say, for example, if it may take 5 years down the road, it depends. If MSP or the local municipality, if they view it based upon the accidents or the heavy traffic volume, if it has grown, if that's an area where development has increased the traffic, because there's a lot of variables to go into a final decision. And sometimes those decisions are not made within a year or 2. So absolutely.
Okay.
We'll do our best to go back and update it when that information is known.
Okay, and then my second question is these 180 road crew reports that we receive in committee, is there any way that we can receive these electronically as well?
It seems like it's possible. Tony?
Or either
Mhm.
as an
Yes.
Excel document or a PDF document?
PDF. Yes,
Okay.
we could send that over to
Okay,
you.
that was
PDF.
Absolutely.
Separately from the agenda?
Yeah.
Great, great suggestion. Yes, we could do it
Thank you.
PDF.
Great.
Thank you.
All set?
I'm all set, thank you.
Okay, and Commissioner Anderson has joined us and would like to ask a question.
Thank you. I appreciate you being here, and I do appreciate what a serious undertaking this is, try to address these issues and the volume that you get. We submitted one yesterday, and we've not received anything from the from the office. We submitted it, and we haven't even received an acknowledgement. And I just
So
wonder.
you called the call center?
No, it was submitted by email.
Yeah, that's the call center.
Yeah.
You
that's
sent
right.
it to the call center?
Right, yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so Tony can check into that, because immediately you're supposed to, via email, does they get an acknowledgement?
If they give us an email address, then yes, you will receive an acknowledgement. We do sorry about that. We do ask that you allow 48 business hours. So if it was in yesterday and you didn't hear anything back today, it could be possible that maybe one of the district managers has not seen it yet, or to allow that sufficient time. But I can definitely have one of my reps or myself to go in and take a look at it. If you have the service request that it provided you through email,
Did not provide any, no.
no.
That's what the point I was making, that we didn't receive any response.
We can get with him and get
Yes.
whatever.
I
the-
That's
Yeah, we
definitely
need
gotta
to
be an
know
exception, because
what the
something's
email
wrong.
address.
Right. We
Yeah.
probably need to verify exactly
Where you sent
where
it.
you
Yeah.
sent it.
Oh, well, it's my staffer that's been doing this for probably 4 or 5 years, or ever since the system's
4 or
been set
5 year people still can make mistakes. Trust me, I've been here a long time, I still make mistakes.
up. Well, it's not, I would be willing to place it.
But yeah, we'll definitely get that information and we'll do a follow-up.
And one
Because
of
that
the
should be the exception.
One of the mistakes is made, oftentimes they forget to give us the contact information to respond back. That's one of the problems we have.
Yeah. Yeah, so he'll get it to us and we'll track it.
Okay. All right, any more questions? Thank you so much for updating us.
We will be back.
And all of us, I mean, the
Yes.
biggest thing is communication with our
Yes.
constituents.
Yes.
I always give the example with the bridges. People were going crazy with the Northville Bridge. The
Yes.
minute they found out it was going to take a year, everything calmed down.
Calm down,
So,
yes.
So
And what I
thank
want
you
to do at
everybody.
the end too is, until we get to that point, I know for the commissioners as well, what we will do is also have a person, say for example, if you have some SRs that you really, your constituents are calling and no response, I'm going to forward a name to a person that's in my office that you can email them directly and they'll track it for you.
Oh, that would be great. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you, everybody, for
Thank you
taking
so
time
much.
out and updating us
Bye-bye.
and all the work you're doing with this. It's a big county. Okay, Madam Clerk, next item.
E, such other matters as may be properly submitted before the committee.
Okay, we got a request at this last minute. Mr. Kelly would like to come up under this item. Just give us.
Item E. Hi. Tom Kelly, Director of Capital Development Building Administration. I just wanted to flag for the committee that we're going to be bringing 2 contracts for immediate consideration next Thursday. One of them is our snow removal contract. We actually got questions from Commission last week and had been working very diligently to get those out, and then our contract manager had a family emergency, had to leave town. And so that got a little, it wasn't able to get on today, even though as of this morning, all the questions had been answered. So that, understandably, because of impending snow, is kind of important for us. And the second one is the lease for 400 Monroe. We've had considerable back and forth between the commission over the past couple months on that one. My understanding is all the questions have been addressed in that as well. But well, there might be another one. Do you want to go ahead? Yeah.
Through the chair, Joe Slazak, yeah. We, actually, we're probably going to likely have more questions. I know Mary and I spoke this morning upstairs. This contract has been returned 4 times for errors. We got the most recent at about 3:45 yesterday, so we were unable to process it today because we have to make sure everything's right.
Okay. This is for the leasing of Monroe.
This is, yeah, this is
400
leasing
Monroe.
400 Monroe, all
Okay.
of the county offices, 5-year lease, it's just short of $6 million contract.
All right.
Well, we'll be back to you when we get all those questions answered, then, I guess.
Yeah, and we have to make sure that obviously all the errors were fixed and all that stuff. So
No
we
problem.
just didn't have the time to process it for today's meeting.
That's no problem. Okay. Then we'll
Nevertheless,
be-
snow removal.
Yeah, the
look out
snow
for that
removal
one.
is a crucial thing.
Yeah, thank you.
I guess lease would be too, everybody being kicked out of the offices. Okay, that's it?
Thank you, that's it for now.
All right, thank you. Next item.
F, public comments.
Okay, anyone from the public that would like to address the Committee of Public Services? Anyone from the public? Seeing no one. Next item.
Adjournment.
Okay, all right. Do I have a support? Okay, all right, CAPS is now adjourned. Thank you very much. Yeah, I gotta just go get my pen.